What happens when a combat veteran who's flown into live fire, carried wounded soldiers off the battlefield, and spent years defending the flag walks onto a talk show expecting a serious conversation, only to realize the hosts have already branded her a traitor, a foreign pawn, a danger to the very country she served? What happens when someone who's seen real enemies points across the table and finds herself facing a panel that's been attacking her from the safety of a studio long before she even sat down? What unfolds next isn't an interview. It's an ambush and a reckoning. And Tulsi Gabbard sees real enemies, points across the table, and finds herself facing a panel that's been attacking her from the safety of a studio long before she even sat down. Tulsi Gabbard didn't walk into the View studio like a nervous politician praying for a nice segment. She walked in like someone who already knew exactly where the shots were going to come from. She'd watched the clips. She'd heard her name tossed around with phrases like Russian asset, Trojan horse, useful idiot. Not whispered, it is said on air, replayed, clipped, shared. She replayed those words in her head, not as abstract insults, but as accusations thrown at a soldier who had deployed for this country. And somewhere between the second and third replay, she made a decision. Today, I'm not talking about this behind their backs. Today, I say it to their face. So when the show started, it looked for about 10 seconds like any other political segment. Joy smiled that familiar TV smile, the one daytime viewers knew by heart. Her voice had that polished energy, the tone that says, we're just talking here. We're all friends. This is just a conversation. She brought up impeachment, the scandal of the week, the latest firestorm in Washington. It sounded routine, almost casual, like a warm-up toss before the real pitch. Were you surprised by what he did yesterday? Joy asked, leaning in, sounding friendly on the surface, but with that tiny edge underneath. That edge Tulsi had already heard in all the clips. Tulsi didn't flinch. She kept her posture straight, her voice calm, like she'd done 1,000 times in hearings and briefings. Well, look, the facts are important, she began. It was a safe opening line, the kind every politician is trained to use. For a second, it almost looked like she might play along, answer the impeachment question, give them the segment they were expecting. But that wasn't why she came. She let half a beat pass, just enough to show she could go down that road if she wanted to. Then she shifted. Her eyes went from neutral to locked in. Her tone didn't get louder, but it got sharper. But before we go too far down that path, she continued, we need to talk about another set of facts, the ones you and your friends here have been spreading about me. In that moment, the whole energy flipped. This wasn't a casual talk show segment anymore. This wasn't Joy controlling the narrative, while a guest tried to squeeze in a few talking points. Tulsi had just pushed impeachment to the side and put something much heavier on the table. Weeks of attacks, labels, and accusations that hit way deeper than any policy disagreement. She wasn't asking for permission. She wasn't waiting for Joy to get to it. She was making it clear, we're not doing your script today, we're doing mine. And with that one pivot, the conversation stopped being a TV interview and became something much closer to a cross-examination. Tulsi continued to speak. When she spoke, her tone was level, but there was steel underneath it that everyone at that table immediately recognized. Some of you on this very table have called me a traitor to my country, she said. No drama, no hesitation, just the truth dropped right between them. Joy froze for half a second, the kind of half second that only someone watching very closely would catch. Tulsi kept going. A Russian asset, a Trojan horse, a useful idiot. I think that was your term, Joy. Saying the words out loud changed the air in the room. These weren't clips on Twitter anymore. These weren't lines thrown out casually during a segment Joy assumed Tulsi would never watch. This was the woman they were about, saying them back, directly, face to face. And suddenly the table that usually buzzed with jokes, side comments, and quick reactions went quiet. Tulsi didn't let the moment fade. She went right into the phrase Joy thought she could hide behind. Useful idiot doesn't just mean we disagree, Tulsi said, still steady, still calm. It means you think I'm too naive or too stupid to know I'm helping the enemy. Joy tried to give the same tight smile she often used to soften things, as if this was all just TV banner. But it didn't land. Tulsi wasn't joking, and she wasn't playing along. And let's be honest, Tulsi added, her voice dropping just enough to make the point sting. That's a cute phrase for a green room. It's a little uglier when you say it to someone who's worn the uniform. If Joy had been holding on to any sense of control, that line knocked it loose. The table wasn't hers anymore. The rhythm wasn't hers anymore. And Tulsi wasn't giving her space to pivot out of it. But instead of turning back to Joy, Tulsi shifted her body slightly toward the camera, toward the millions watching at home, not the handful at the table. I want your viewers to know exactly who I am, she said. I am a patriot. I love this country. I am a strong, intelligent woman of color who has spent almost my entire adult life protecting the safety and freedom of Americans. She didn't sound angry. She sounded like someone setting the record straight once and for all. Then she turned the scalpel back toward Joy with a calmness that made it even sharper. You don't get to call that compromise just because you don't like my politics. Joy opened her mouth, maybe to interrupt, maybe to laugh it off, maybe just to stall. But nothing came out fast enough. The smile on her face looked forced now, the kind of smile someone wears when they're hoping the camera cuts away. But it didn't, and Tulsi wasn't letting her off the hook. For a moment, Joy looked like she didn't know which direction to run. The calm, controlled interview she thought she'd orchestrated had slipped right out of her hands, and now she was scrambling for anything that might put Tulsi back on the defensive. And when people panic, they reach for whatever's closest, even if it makes no sense. Well, Franklin Graham thinks you're refreshing, Joy blurted out, as if that alone proved something sinister. Before Tulsi could respond, Joy threw another name onto the pile. Richard Spencer says he could vote for you. Then she added the one she always keeps in her back pocket. You're on Tucker Carlson all the time. It was like watching someone throw darts with their eyes closed and hope one hits the target. No nuance, no logic, just guilt by association at full volume. People I don't like said something positive about you, so clearly something's wrong with you. It wasn't an argument. It was desperation dressed up as a question. Tulsi didn't get rattled. She didn't even look irritated. She just let out a quiet, almost amused breath. Not a laugh, but the kind of soft exhale that says, "Are we really doing this?" Her eyes stayed locked on Joy. So now I'm responsible for every person who says my name out loud? She asked. Her tone wasn't sharp. It wasn't sarcastic. It was almost conversational, which somehow made the point hit even harder. Joy opened her mouth, ready to push back, but Tulsi kept going. Do you vet my supporters more carefully than you vet the accusations you repeat on this show? She added, a clean, direct cut, no shouting necessary. If a bad person says the sky is blue, I don't start questioning the color of the sky, Tulsi said. I question the bad person. That's what you should have done with Hillary's smear, Joy. It was clinical, precise. The kind of comeback that doesn't just respond to the attack. It flips the entire logic upside down. Even Joy had to blink a couple of times, like she needed a second to process what just happened. But instead of admitting the argument was weak, Joy reached for a new angle. People see bots, grooming, Russian support. They have questions, she said, trying to sound reasonable, as if she was simply echoing public curiosity and not repeating weeks of accusations that started in her own chair. Tulsi didn't let her finish the pivot. Her voice stayed steady, but the edge was clear now. No, Joy, she said. People don't have questions. Political operatives push talking points, and you read them into a camera. Joy tried to interrupt, a reflex by now, but Tulsi went right over it. If you had evidence, you'd show it, she said. Instead, you show tweets and conspiracy YouTube graphs. Her voice slowed, steadied, and carried a weight none of the hosts at that table could match. She went back to the beginning. After 9/11, she said quietly, I enlisted because I wanted to protect this country. No theatrics, no political polish. Just a simple fact spoken by someone who had actually lived it. I deployed twice, 16 years of service, Foreign Affairs Committee, Armed Services Committee, Homeland Security Committee. Each line landed like a stamp on a document, clear, official, undeniable. Then she added the kind of truth that cuts without ever getting loud. While you were talking about war into a camera, I was flying into it in a uniform. She didn't look angry when she said it. She didn't need to. The words did all the work. You saw Iraq through monologues, she continued. I saw it through dust and blood. Joy shifted in her chair, the way someone shifts when they feel a punch they didn't see coming. So she tried to interrupt, to steer the conversation back into familiar territory. Well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But Tulsi didn't let her get the sentence out. Her reply came instantly, calm but sharp enough to freeze the table. You can interrupt my sentence, Joy, she said, but you can't interrupt my record. This was the version of Tulsi most viewers had never seen. Steady, disciplined, unshakable. She wasn't arguing. She wasn't defending. She was laying down the truth like someone who had nothing to hide and everything to back it up. And before Joy could regroup, Tulsi closed the loop herself, pulling all of it together in one clean frame. I didn't just run for Congress, she said. I enlisted, I served, and then I ran, in that order. That matters when you throw words like traitor around. Joy had been losing ground for several minutes, and she knew it. So when the producers queued up the Hillary Clinton clip, you could almost hear the relief in her voice. We actually have the clip of Hillary Clinton, she said, smiling a little too quickly. Just to put this into context. The screen lit up. Hillary's voice filled the studio. Steady, confident, and unmistakably accusatory. She talked about someone in the Democratic primary being the favorite of the Russians. She hinted that this person was being groomed as a third-party spoiler. She compared Tulsi to Jill Stein and used the phrase Russian asset with the kind of casual certainty that only comes from someone who knows her words will echo across the entire political world. When the clip ended, Joy looked back at Tulsi like she'd just handed her a checkmate. But Tulsi didn't flinch. She wasn't intimidated. She didn't look shaken or cornered. She simply let the silence sit for a second, then leaned in with precision. That's not context, Tulsi said. That's a former Secretary of State accusing a sitting member of Congress and a combat veteran of being an asset of a foreign adversary, without a shred of evidence. She didn't blink. She didn't soften it. She left no room for Joy to wiggle out. If she had proof, Tulsi continued, she'd be in a classified briefing room, not hiding behind your couch on daytime TV. Even Joy seemed caught off guard by how direct the line was. She tried to recover, to regain even a sliver of control, but Tulsi kept going, and now she went deeper. As a soldier, as a member of Congress, as a woman of color, she said, to be demeaned like that is offensive on every level. The words weren't shouted. They were delivered calmly, but with a seriousness that made everyone at the table sit still. You don't get to call that just politics, she added. Where I come from, questioning someone's loyalty is dead serious. Joy wasn't ready to take the hit. She tried to soften the blow, to rewrite the meaning of the clip they had all just watched. Well, she was saying they're grooming you, people see bots, they have questions, but Tulsi cut her off before she could finish the spin. No, Tulsi said sharply. She was saying I'm working for the enemy. Own the words, Joy. Don't water them down when you're finally facing me. Then she went straight to the part of her story Joy and Hillary had conveniently ignored for weeks. I served in the war in Iraq that Hillary championed, Tulsi said. Her voice stayed calm, but the weight behind it was unmistakable. Then she turned directly to Joy. No smile, no softening, just a clean, straight question. Did you serve in that war, Joy? The way she said it didn't leave room for a clever comeback. It was the kind of question that stops a room. And for the first time, Joy didn't even pretend to have an answer. She just stared back, caught between blinking and breathing. Tulsi kept going, the pressure building. You cheered the policies that sent us there, she said. Then you cheered the smears when we came home and disagreed with you. That line hit harder than anything she'd said so far, because it wasn't about politics anymore. It was about who lived with the consequences and who merely talked about them on TV. Joy swallowed, then tried to steady herself. Well, she was misled too, she said quickly, grabbing the closest defense she could find for Hillary. She, she was misled too. But Tulsi crushed it in a single breath. Being misled into a bad war is one thing, she said. Choosing to smear the soldiers who fought it when they come home and disagree with you? That's something else entirely. Joy's face tightened. There was nowhere soft to land after that. Tulsi didn't stop. She shifted the focus and the blame straight to Hillary's record. Her record is clear, Tulsi said, laying it out like charges in a courtroom. Regime change wars, a world's police foreign policy. Thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform never came home. Joy didn't interrupt, couldn't interrupt. I'm running to end that, Tulsi continued, and instead of debating me on policy, you repeat a smear that calls me a traitor. Then Tulsi delivered the final line, the one that tied Joy and Hillary together in the same indictment. You didn't just question my ideas, Tulsi said. You questioned my loyalty. You and Hillary are sitting in the same row on that. By now, everyone watching, in the studio and at home, could feel the shift. Tulsi wasn't the guest being questioned anymore. She wasn't the one defending her name. She was the one setting the terms, drawing the lines, and making the accusations land exactly where they belonged. And when she turned back toward Joy, the temperature in the room dropped a few more degrees. Let's be clear, Tulsi said, looking straight at Joy. I'm not here on defense. My record speaks for itself. Her voice wasn't raised. It was steady, locked in, the way someone sounds when they know the truth is on their side and don't need to shout it. I'm here because you used your platform to paint a combat veteran as a foreign agent. That's what's on trial today, not my patriotism. Joy blinked hard. She wasn't used to being cast in that role, the one answering, not asking. But Tulsi didn't give her space to reset. This isn't just about me, Tulsi continued, her tone slowing down like she was listing charges. The message is clear. Toe the party line on foreign policy, or you will be labeled, smeared, destroyed. She paused just long enough to let the weight of the words settle. You don't debate dissent. You threaten it. Joy tried to recover, reaching for the same soft excuse she'd leaned on earlier. She forced a little smile, the kind that usually helps her glide past weak arguments, and said, People have questions, that's all. But Tulsi wasn't having it. No, Joy, she said firmly. Questions sound like this. What do you believe and why? Then she added, each word clean and unmissable. What you did was repeat. Russian asset, Trojan horse, useful idiot. That's not curiosity. That's character assassination with a smile. Joy's smile dropped. That line didn't just hit. It landed with the finality of someone closing a door that won't be opened again. And Tulsi wasn't done. When you accuse a soldier of treason, she said slowly, clearly, you have two options. Prove it or apologize. She didn't raise an eyebrow. She didn't lean in. She just told the truth like it was the simplest thing in the world. There is no third option called, we were just talking. Joy tried to pull the conversation back to safer ground, but nothing she said had the weight it usually carried. Her voice sounded thinner now, stretched between saving face and pretending things were normal. We're just having a conversation, she said, forcing a polite smile. We respect your service. But Tulsi didn't need to argue anymore. She didn't need another monologue or another takedown. She ended it with one clean sentence. Respect isn't what you say in the last 30 seconds, she replied. It's what you chose to say for the last 3 weeks. Joy's smile froze. The table went still. There was no comeback for that, because everyone in the room knew it was true. Respect isn't something you scramble to claim when the cameras are rolling. It's in the pattern of how you talk when you think the person you're attacking won't ever sit across from you. Tulsi turned toward the camera, not dramatically, not for effect, but with the steady clarity of someone drawing a line that couldn't be crossed again. You can attack my politics all day long, she said. That's democracy. Her voice stayed calm, but the meaning hit hard. But you don't get to question the patriotism of someone who put on the uniform while you sat comfortably in a studio. She let that settle, then delivered the final cut. Sharp, measured, impossible to twist. Disagree with me on policy. Don't ever again call me a traitor. That was it. No shouting, no dramatic exit. Just truth stated plainly by someone whose record could stand on its own. And when the segment wrapped, Tulsi walked off without fanfare because she didn't need any. Her service record, her deployments, her years on national security committees, that was her closing argument. The narration comes in here, quiet but decisive. Tulsi left that interview without raising her voice, without pounding a desk, without trying to win a TV moment. She simply carried her service with her, the one thing no smear could erase. And she left Joy and The View facing a question they couldn't answer. If this is what you do to someone who served, what does that say about your patriotism? And in the end, the truth was undeniable. That day, The View thought they were putting Tulsi Gabbard on the hot seat. Instead, she quietly put their smear campaign on trial. And the verdict was obvious to everyone watching. If this showdown left you stunned, don't stop here. There are more moments like this, raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic, where the truth hits harder than the script. Subscribe for more political face-offs, real confrontations, and stories the mainstream won't tell you. Like the video if you believe every veteran deserves the right to defend their name. Comment below and tell me, did Tulsi go too far? Or did she finally say what needed to be said? Your voice matters. Let's keep the conversation going.